A powerful businessman lost his legs after falling asleep at the wheel, thinking that nothing was more important than his business. But everything changed the day a poor girl walked into his living room and bravely told him that he was her father and could make him walk again. He was supposedly infertile, so how could she be his daughter? Watch it to the end, you won't regret it. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The rain pounded against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse office, mirroring the storm inside. Ethan Blackwood's mind. 42 floors above downtown Seattle, the tech mogul sat motionless in his wheelchair, watching droplets race down the glass. Which one would reach the bottom first? It didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. Ethan's assistant, Meredith, entered quietly with his lunch tray. "Mr. Blackwood, I've brought your meal. The chef prepared salmon with asparagus as you requested." "Last week." He didn't turn from the window. "Leave it on the desk. Your conference call with the Tokyo investors starts in 20 minutes. Would you like me to—" "Tell them I'll email my decision by tomorrow," he interrupted, his voice flat and distant. "No need for discussion." Meredith hesitated, her reflection visible in the window. She'd been with Blackwood Innovations for over 9 years, watching her boss transform from a dynamic, passionate entrepreneur into this hollow shell of a man. "Dr. Martinez called again about resuming your physical therapy. I told you to cancel those appointments permanently. He believes there's still significant potential for improvement if you—" Ethan spun his wheelchair around, his eyes flashing with rare emotion. Anger. "Potential for what exactly? So I can stand for 10 seconds instead of 5? So I can—" "Drag myself across a room while sweating through my shirt. Tell Martinez to find someone who still gives a damn." The words hung in the air between them. Meredith nodded stiffly and retreated toward the door. "And Meredith," he called after her, his voice softening slightly, "I don't want any more visitors today." Alone again, Ethan wheeled himself to his desk, ignoring the food. He pulled up the quarterly reports Natalie Winters had prepared. Since his accident 18 months ago, Natalie had essentially taken over operations as COO. She was brilliant, ruthless, and ambitious. Everything he once was. The numbers looked good. Better than good. Blackwood Innovations was thriving under her leadership, perhaps even more than when he was at the helm. The thought should have pleased him, but instead it only deepened his sense of irrelevance. 18 months. Sometimes it felt like yesterday when he was racing down I-5 at midnight, his mind buzzing with ideas after a 20-hour workday. The new AI platform launch was just weeks away. Investors were excited. The media was circling. Sleep could wait. It couldn't. He remembered the heaviness of his eyelids, the momentary surrender to exhaustion. Then the horrifying sensation of waking to find his car veering toward the concrete barrier. The sound of metal twisting, glass shattering, pain exploding through his body. And then nothing from the waist down. Ever again. The medical team had been cautiously optimistic at first. Incomplete spinal cord injury, they called it. Significant chance of partial recovery. They didn't understand that Ethan Blackwood didn't do partial anything. He was an all-or-nothing man. And now he was nothing. The rain intensified, hammering against the glass like an accusation. He wheeled back to the window, watching Seattle disappear behind sheets of water. Somewhere down there, people were running for cover, laughing, cursing. The weather, living their lives. Up here, time stood still. His phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. "Board members asking about your attendance at next week's fundraiser. What should I tell them?" He didn't respond. The annual Blackwood Innovation Foundation Gala had once been his favorite night of the year. He'd walk the room like a conquering hero, shaking hands, making deals, charming potential partners. Now, the thought of being wheeled around, the object of pitying glances and uncomfortable small talk, made him physically ill. Ethan's gaze fell on the photo frame face down on his desk, the only personal item in the sterile space. He hadn't looked at it in months, but he didn't need to. The image was burned into his memory. Ethan on stage accepting the Innovator of the Year award, his arms raised triumphantly. The man who wouldn't take no for an answer, the presenter, had called him. What a cruel joke that had become. His computer chimed with an incoming video call, not from Tokyo, but from Dr. Martinez. Ethan almost declined it automatically, but something, perhaps boredom, perhaps the thunderstorm's melancholy, made him accept. "Mr. Blackwood," the physical therapist said, surprise evident in his voice. "Thank you for taking my call." "I have 5 minutes," Ethan replied coldly. "Dr. Martinez didn't waste time. I've been developing a new rehabilitation protocol specifically for cases like yours. The early results have been promising." "How many of your patients are walking normally again?" Ethan interrupted. A brief hesitation. "That's not how recovery works, as we've discussed, but several have regained significant function and independence." "So none." "Mr. Blackwood, with respect, your attitude is becoming your biggest limitation. The neuroplasticity of the human body is remarkable, but it requires consistency, effort, and most importantly, belief." Ethan laughed bitterly. "Belief? Should I clap my hands if I believe in fairy tales too? I built a tech empire on data and results, doctor, not wishful thinking." Martinez's expression remained compassionate but firm. "Your injury is severe but not complete. You've already demonstrated movement in your toes during our early sessions. That's not wishful thinking. That's measurable progress." Wiggling. "My toes won't bring back my life." "No, but it's the first step toward building a new one." Ethan ended the call without responding. Building a new life. As if the one he'd spent 2 decades creating could simply be replaced. As if anything could fill the void left by the loss of his independence, his identity, his future. The security phone on his desk buzzed, a direct line to the lobby that bypassed Meredith. Annoyed at the interruption, Ethan answered sharply. "What is it?" "Mr. Blackwood, I'm sorry to disturb you," came the voice of George, the head of building security. "There's a young girl here insisting she needs to see you, says it's an emergency." "A girl? What are you talking about?" "A child, sir, maybe 9 or 10 years old. She's alone and quite determined. Says her name is Lily." "I don't know any children." "Send her away." "We've tried, sir. She's been here 3 times today already. She's soaking wet from the rain and refusing to leave. Says she'll wait all night if necessary." "That's not my problem. Call social services if you need to." "Sir," George hesitated. "She says she's your daughter." The words hit Ethan like an electric shock. "That's ridiculous. I don't have a daughter." "That's what I told her, sir, but she's very insistent. Says her mother's name is Sarah Henderson." The name triggered something deep in Ethan's memory. Sarah, the environmental lawyer he'd met during the Green Energy Conference in Portland, almost a decade ago. 3 months of intense connection, then a clean break when she started talking about wanting a family someday. He didn't do someday, only the immediate, the actionable, the controllable. "Sir, should I call the police?" Ethan found himself staring at his reflection in the rain-streaked window, hollow-cheeked, pale, eyes sunken from months of isolation and self-pity. What could this child possibly want from him? Money, recognition, some misguided attempt at connection. Mr. Blackwood. "Send her up," he heard himself say, surprising even himself. "And George, not a word about this to anyone, especially Miss Winters." "Yes, sir." Ethan hung up and wheeled himself back to the window. The storm was passing, sunlight beginning to break through the clouds in golden shafts. For the first time, in months, he felt something stir within him. Not hope exactly. Perhaps just curiosity. Or perhaps it was simply that, after endless, identical days of grey emptiness, something unpredictable had finally happened. The elevator would take exactly 97 seconds to reach the penthouse from the lobby. Ethan counted them down silently, wondering what he would see when those doors opened. Whatever game this child was playing, he decided it would at least break the monotony of his existence, and maybe, just maybe, give him something to think about besides the wasteland his life had become. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. Ethan had positioned his wheelchair facing them, determined to maintain some semblance of control over this unexpected situation. Standing in the elevator was indeed a child, a small girl with soaking wet clothes and tangled brown hair falling past her shoulders. She clutched a worn backpack against her chest like a shield, but what struck Ethan immediately were her eyes, large, dark, and unnervingly familiar. They held the same intensity he'd seen in the mirror his entire life. She stepped forward cautiously, scanning the minimalist penthouse office before her gaze settled on him. There was no fear in her expression, just a strange mix of determination and relief. "You look like your pictures," she said simply. Ethan kept his face impassive. "And you look like a drowned rat. What's this nonsense about being my daughter?" The mule girl, Lily, according to George, didn't flinch at his harshness. "I'm not nonsense. My name is Lily Henderson. I'm 9 years old. My mum is Sarah Henderson. You met her in Portland at some conference about clean energy. You dated for exactly 3 months and 2 days. The precision of her information was unsettling. Anyone. So I could have researched that. Mom has a small freckle behind her left ear that she says looks like a star. You used to kiss it every morning. She still touches it sometimes when she talks about you." That wasn't public information. Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken but kept his expression neutral. "What do you want, money?" Lily's face crumpled slightly, the first crack in her composure. "Mom never asked you for anything. She never even told you about me. She said you were too important for distractions." The word stung more than it should have. Ethan remembered using that exact term when he ended things with Sarah. "Children are a distraction I can't afford right now," he'd told her over dinner at some upscale Portland restaurant. She hadn't cried, hadn't begged. She'd simply nodded and said, "I understand. We want different things." He'd admired her dignity, even as he'd felt relief at the clean break. "If she never told me, why are you here now?" he asked, wheeling himself slightly closer. Lily swallowed hard. "Mom is sick, really sick. She's in the hospital." "I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't see how—" "She needs a kidney transplant," Lily interrupted, her voice stronger now. "She's been on dialysis for months, but she's getting worse. The doctors say she needs a donor, but no one in our family matches." Understanding dawned. "So you came here thinking I'd donate a kidney to a woman I haven't seen in a decade?" "I came here because you're my father, and she's my mother, and I'm not ready to lose her." The words burst out of Lily with surprising force, echoing in the spacious office. For a moment neither spoke. Outside, the storm had passed completely, leaving a crystalline blue sky in its wake. "You don't even know if I'm compatible," Ethan said finally, his tone softer despite himself. "I know you're O-negative. So is Mum. So am I." Lily set her backpack on the floor and unzipped it, pulling out a folder. "I brought her medical information and this." She extended a photograph. Reluctantly, Ethan took it. The image showed a younger version of himself with Sarah, both laughing as they hiked along what looked like the Oregon coast. He remembered that day, one of those rare, perfect moments when time seemed to stop, when the constant pressure of deadlines and innovations had briefly receded. "Where did you get this?" "Mom keeps it in her nightstand. There's more." She pulled out another photo, this one of Sarah holding a newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. "That's me, the day I was born. She tried to call you then, but your assistant said you were launching something important in Japan and couldn't be disturbed." Ethan had a vague recollection of his former assistant mentioning a personal call from Portland during that chaotic launch week. He'd instructed her to take a message, but no message had ever materialized, or perhaps he'd simply forgotten in the whirlwind of success that followed. "She tried again when I was 3 and when I was 5, Lily continued. "She wrote letters too." "I never received any letters. Someone named Natalie called once, said you weren't interested in prior entanglements and to stop trying to contact you." Natalie, of course. She'd been his executive assistant before her meteoric rise to operations director and eventually COO. Always protecting him, always eliminating distractions, just as he'd taught her to do. Lily reached into her backpack again and pulled out a dog-eared envelope. "I brought a copy of my birth certificate. and Mum's doctors said a simple blood test would confirm everything. Ethan took the envelope but didn't open it. "How did you find me? How did you get here?" "Google Maps and the bus," she replied matter-of-factly. "I've been planning this for weeks. I saved up my allowance." "Your mother doesn't know you're here, does she?" It wasn't really a question. Lily looked down at her sneakers, leaving wet marks on his expensive hardwood floor. "She's been unconscious since yesterday. The doctors say her kidneys are failing fast. Her friend Jenny is with her now. They think I'm at school." Ethan closed his eyes briefly, trying to process the situation. "Where is she? Which hospital?" "Harborview Medical Center, 5th floor." Without warning, Ethan wheeled himself to his desk and picked up the phone. "Meredith, have my car brought around and call Dr. Patel at Seattle Presbyterian. Tell him I need an urgent consult at Harborview Medical Center." Lily's eyes widened. "You're coming? Right now?" "I'm coming to verify your story," he corrected her, reaching for his jacket. Nothing more. For the first time since she'd arrived, Lily smiled, a small, hopeful curve of her lips that transformed her face. "I knew you would." "Don't get ahead of yourself. This doesn't mean I believe you, and it certainly doesn't mean I'm donating an organ. But you're willing to find out the truth. That's all I asked for." As they rode the elevator down to the parking garage, Ethan studied Lily surreptitiously. The shape of her nose, the set of her jaw, the intensity of her gaze, the resemblance was undeniable. But genetics weren't enough to make him a father, and a DNA match wouldn't automatically grant him paternal instincts he'd never developed. Meredith was waiting with an umbrella when they reached his customized black Range Rover. Her carefully neutral expression couldn't quite hide her curiosity about the soaking wet child accompanying her boss. "Mr. Blackwood, your physician will meet you at Harborview within the hour. Ms. Winters has been trying to reach you about the quarterly presentation. Tell her I'll be unavailable for the rest of the day. Personal matter." Meredith's eyebrows rose slightly, but she nodded. "Of course. Do you need me to come with you?" "No. But find me a change of clothes for—" He gestured vaguely toward Lily, who was gazing wide-eyed at the luxury vehicle. "For the young lady, certainly. I'll have something delivered to the hospital." If Meredith was burning with questions, she kept them to herself, a quality Ethan had always appreciated. The driver helped Ethan into the back seat, folding the wheelchair with practiced efficiency. Lily climbed in beside him, still clutching her backpack. "Your car is fancy," she observed as they pulled out of the garage into the rain-washed Seattle streets. "It's modified so I can drive it myself when necessary," Ethan replied, surprising himself by offering the information unprompted. "There are hand controls for the brake and accelerator. Do you miss walking?" The question came with the directness only a child could muster. Ethan stiffened. "That's not an appropriate question." "Sorry." She looked out the window for a moment, then turned back to him. "Mum says I sometimes ask things too directly. She says my brain doesn't have the same filters other people have." Despite himself, Ethan felt a flicker of interest. "You mean you're neurodivergent?" Lily nodded. "I have ADHD and some autism spectrum stuff. Mom says it makes me special, but the kids at school just think I'm weird." She said this matter-of-factly, without self-pity. "I'm really good at math, though, and remembering things. Like I remember every single thing about the day Mom showed me your picture and told me who you were. When was that?" 2 years, 3 months, and 14 days ago. It was raining like today. We were eating mac and cheese, the kind with the spiral noodles. Mum said, 'Lily, it's time you knew about your father.' And she showed me articles about you and your company, and that picture from the beach." Lily's voice took on a dreamy quality. "I memorized your face." The simplicity of her statement, the years of longing it implied, created an uncomfortable pressure in Ethan's chest. He looked away, focusing on the Seattle skyline as they approached the hospital district. "If the tests confirm what you believe," he said carefully, "what exactly do you expect to happen?" Lily considered this seriously. "First, I hope you'll help Mom get better." Then she trailed off, suddenly seeming very young and uncertain. "I guess I hoped maybe you'd want to know me, even a little bit." The vulnerability in her voice made something shift inside Ethan. something that had been frozen solid since the moment he'd woken up in the hospital and realized half his body no longer responded to his commands. Before he could formulate a response, the car pulled up to the hospital entrance. As the driver retrieved the wheelchair, Ethan found himself saying, "Let's take this one step at a time, Lily. First, we find out the truth." She nodded solemnly, then reached out as if to take his hand, stopping herself at the last moment. "Thank you for believing me enough to come here." Ethan didn't correct her assumption. He wasn't sure what he believed anymore, but as they entered the hospital, a place he'd sworn never to return to after his own discharge, he recognized that something fundamental had already changed. For the first time in 18 months, he wasn't thinking about what he'd lost. He was moving forward, toward an unknown future that suddenly held possibilities beyond the lonely confines of his penthouse prison. The antiseptic smell of the hospital hit Ethan like a physical blow. His hands tightened involuntarily on the wheels of his chair as memories flooded back. The endless beeping of monitors, the hushed voices of doctors delivering life-altering news, the slow realization that his body had betrayed him. "Mr. Blackwood." A nurse approached, recognition dawning on her face. "Dr. Patel said you were coming. We've prepared a private consultation room." Lily trailed behind as they navigated the corridors, her eyes darting nervously from room to room. "Mom's on the 5th floor," she reminded him. "Room 537. "We'll get there," Ethan assured her, surprising himself with the gentleness in his voice. "But first, we need to talk to some doctors." The consultation room was clearly the hospital's attempt at creating a non-clinical space. Faux leather chairs, muted artwork, a small table with bottled water. Dr. Patel was waiting for them, his familiar face a strange comfort in the unsettling environment. "Ethan," he greeted warmly, offering a handshake. "It's been too long. You've been ignoring my calls." "I've been ignoring everyone's calls," Ethan replied dryly. Dr. Patel turned his attention to Lily, who was hovering uncertainly near the door. "And who is this young lady?" Before Ethan could respond, the door opened again to admit a woman in a white coat. "I'm Dr. Chen, nephrologist for Sarah Henderson." Her gaze fell on Lily, and her professional demeanor softened. "Lily? Aren't you supposed to be in school?" Lily's chin lifted defiantly. "I had something more important to do." Dr. Chen looked from the child to Ethan, clearly connecting the dots. "I see you found him. You knew about this?" Ethan asked sharply. "Lily mentioned her plan several times during her mother's appointments. We didn't think she'd actually..." Dr. Chen sighed. "Sarah would be very upset to know you came here alone, Lily." "Mom doesn't have time for me to wait for grown-ups to do something," Lily replied with the same direct intensity Ethan was beginning to recognize as her default mode. "Is she any better today?" Dr. Chen's expression answered before her words did. "Her condition is stable for now, but her kidney function continues to decline. We've moved her up on the transplant list, but with her blood type and antibody profile, finding a match is challenging." "That's why I'm here," Ethan said, gesturing to Dr. Patel. "My physician can coordinate whatever testing is needed to determine compatibility." Dr. Chen and Dr. Patel exchanged a look that Ethan couldn't quite interpret. "There are several factors to consider," Dr. Chen began carefully. "Medical compatibility is just one aspect. There are psychological evaluations, ethical considerations." "I haven't agreed to anything yet," Ethan interrupted. "I'm just here to verify the child's claim and understand the situation." Lily's face fell visibly. "But you came." "I thought that meant..." "It meant I'm willing to listen," Ethan corrected, aware of how harsh his words sounded but unable to soften them. "There are protocols for these situations." Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should start with the simplest verification. A paternity test can be expedited given the circumstances, with preliminary results available within hours." "Let's do that first," Ethan agreed. "And I'd like to review Ms. Henderson's medical records." "I'll need her consent for that," Dr. Chen pointed out. "She already gave it," Lily said, unzipping her backpack again. She pulled out a wrinkled form with Sarah's signature. Mom signed this when she got really sick last month. It says medical power of attorney goes to her sister Jenny, but Jenny said I could bring it to him. She handed the paper to Dr. Chen, who examined it closely. This appears to be in order, but I'll need to verify with Jennifer Carson. Do what you need to do, Ethan said. In the meantime, Dr. Patel can begin my evaluation. For the next hour, Ethan submitted to blood draws and medical questionnaires, signing release forms and authorization documents with mechanical efficiency. Lily sat quietly in the corner, her small legs swinging beneath the chair, occasionally pulling out a dog-eared paperback from her backpack. "What are you reading?" Ethan asked during a lull in the procedures, more to break the uncomfortable silence than from genuine curiosity. Lily held up the book so he could see the cover. A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. "Mom gave it to me for my birthday. She said you'd probably like that I'm interested in physics and space stuff." Something about this casual revelation that Sarah had kept him alive in their daughter's imagination as a positive presence created a strange ache in Ethan's chest. "Das sicher. That's advanced reading for your age." Lily shrugged. "I don't understand all of it yet, but I like the parts about black holes and time dilation. Did you know that if you got close enough to a black hole, time would slow down for you while it kept going normal for everyone else? It's like a time machine, kind of." Despite everything, Ethan found himself engaged by her enthusiasm. That's the theory, yes. Although getting that close to a black hole would have other, less pleasant consequences. "Like spaghettification," Lily nodded seriously. "That's what happens when gravity pulls harder on your feet than your head and stretches you out like spaghetti." The corner of Ethan's mouth twitched upward involuntarily. "You certainly have a unique way of looking at things." "Mom says the same thing." Lily's expression clouded. "Can we go see her now? Please?" Before Ethan could respond, Dr. Chen returned with another woman, presumably Jennifer Carson, Sarah's sister. Jennifer's resemblance to Sarah was subtle but unmistakable, particularly around the eyes. Those eyes narrowed when they landed on Ethan. "So you finally showed up," she said coldly. 9 years later. Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I was never informed I had a daughter." "Would it have mattered if you were?" Jennifer shot back. "Sarah tried to reach you multiple times." "Jenny," Dr. Chen cautioned, "let's focus on the immediate situation." Jennifer took a deep breath, visibly composing herself. "You're right. I'm sorry." She knelt in front of Lily, her expression softening. "You scared me half to death, kiddo. The school called when you didn't show up." "I had to find him," Lily said simply. "No one else was doing it." Jennifer looked like she wanted to argue, but instead pulled Lily into a tight hug. "You're too brave for your own good, you know that?" Over the child's shoulder, she addressed Ethan directly. "Are you really considering being tested as a donor, or is this just to satisfy your curiosity?" "I'm still processing the fact that I apparently have a 9-year-old daughter," Ethan replied evenly. "But yes, I've already submitted samples for compatibility testing." Jennifer's expression shifted slightly, not quite to gratitude, but perhaps to something less hostile. "Sarah would never have asked this of you. She's always been fiercely independent." "I remember," Ethan said quietly. Dr. Patel re-entered the room, his expression carefully neutral in the way that physicians perfect when delivering significant news. "We have the preliminary results of the paternity test." Ethan felt his heart rate accelerate. He glanced at Lily, who had gone completely still, her small hands clutching the physics book like a talisman. "The probability of paternity is 99.97%, Dr. Patel announced. "Genetically speaking, Lily is unquestionably your daughter, Ethan." Though he'd been preparing himself for this confirmation since the moment he saw Lily's eyes, the scientific verification still struck Ethan with unexpected force. He had a child, a daughter. A living, breathing extension of himself existing in the world for 9 years without his knowledge. "Can we see Mom now?" Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. "Please." Jennifer exchanged glances with Dr. Chen, who nodded. "Briefly," Jennifer agreed. "But sweetheart, remember she's very sick. She's connected to a lot of machines and she might not wake up while we're there." "I know," Lily said, with the weariness of a child who had spent too much time in hospitals. "But I want to tell her I found him. She might hear me even if she's sleeping." The elevator ride to the 5th floor passed in tense silence. Ethan's mind raced with unanswered questions and unwelcome realizations. Had Natalie truly intercepted Sarah's attempts to contact him? Why had he never followed up on that message from Portland all those years ago? How different might his life have been if he had? Room 537 was at the end of a quiet corridor. Jennifer pushed the door open gently, motioning for Lily to go first. Ethan hesitated at the threshold, suddenly uncertain. "You can wait out here, if you prefer," Jennifer offered, her tone suggesting she expected exactly that. Something in her assumption of his cowardice stiffened Ethan's resolve. He wheeled himself forward into the dimly lit room. Sarah Henderson lay still against white hospital sheets, her once vibrant features now pale and drawn. Monitoring equipment surrounded her bed, creating a rhythmic backdrop of beeps and hums. An IV stand held bags of fluids and medications. A dialysis machine stood sentinel nearby. She was still beautiful. Different from his memories, her honey-blonde hair now shorter, faint lines at the corners of her eyes, but unmistakably the woman who had once made him consider, however briefly, a different kind of future. Lily approached the bed without hesitation, taking her mother's limp hand in her own. "Mom," she said softly, "I found him. I found my dad just like in my dream. He came to help you." The simple declaration, "my dad," sent a jolt through Ethan. No one had ever called him that before. The title felt foreign, unearned. Her kidneys are functioning at less than 15% now, Jennifer explained quietly. "The dialysis helps, but it's not a permanent solution. Without a transplant soon..." She trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought in Lily's presence. Ethan nodded, understanding the unspoken implication. He studied Sarah's face, remembering her vibrant laugh, her passionate arguments about environmental policy, the way she'd challenged his single-minded focus on work with gentle but persistent questions about what truly mattered in life. "I never wanted children," he said, almost to himself. "I told her that very clearly." "And she respected your choice," Jennifer replied softly. "She never asked you for anything. Not money, not recognition, not even acknowledgement. She raised Lily on her own, working 2 jobs sometimes, never complaining." Her voice caught slightly. "She's the strongest person I've ever known." Lily had climbed carefully onto the edge of the bed, still holding her mother's hand. "The doctors said you might be able to help her," she said, looking directly at Ethan, "if your blood matches." "It's more complicated than that," he began. "You said you were getting tested," Lily countered, her dark eyes, his eyes, holding him accountable. "You came all this way." "I did," Ethan admitted, "but organ donation is a major surgery, especially for someone with my limitations." Jennifer made a small sound that might have been disbelief. "Your limitations didn't stop you from building a billion-dollar company from your wheelchair." Before Ethan could respond, Dr. Patel appeared in the doorway, his expression grave. "Ethan, could I speak with you privately?" Reluctantly, Ethan followed his physician back into the hallway, aware of Lily's anxious gaze following him. "What is it?" he asked once the door closed behind them. "The preliminary compatibility results are in," Dr. Patel said. "You're a potential match as a donor." Potential? There would be additional testing required, but your blood type and initial tissue typing are compatible. Given the direct biological relationship, the chances of a successful transplant are significantly higher than with an unrelated donor. Ethan processed this information with the same analytical detachment he applied to business decisions. "What are the risks, given my condition?" Dr. Patel considered his words carefully. "The surgery itself carries standard risks: infection, bleeding, adverse reaction to anesthesia. Your spinal cord injury complicates matters, but doesn't necessarily preclude donation. The greater concern would be your long-term recovery and rehabilitation." "Meaning?" "Meaning you've abandoned your physical therapy program for months. Your core strength and overall condition have declined significantly. Post-operative recovery would be challenging under the best circumstances, but in your current state, Dr. Patel shook his head. I wouldn't recommend proceeding without first committing to an intensive rehabilitation program. How long would that take? Minimum 3 months of dedicated work before I'd consider clearing you for surgery. Ethan glanced back toward the hospital room. Does she have 3 months? Dr. Patel's silence was answer enough. Through the small window in the door, Ethan could see Lily sitting beside her mother, small fingers still wrapped around Sarah's hand, lips moving in what might have been prayer or simply a child's desperate plea for the universe to bend to her will. 9 years. 9 years of birthday. Parties and first days of school and nightmares and triumphs that he had missed without even knowing they were happening. 9 years of Sarah raising their brilliant, odd, determined daughter alone while he chased the next innovation, the next acquisition, the next billion. And now, when she needed him most, his broken body might fail them both again. The journey back to Blackwood Tower passed in strained silence. Lily sat beside Ethan in the custom Range Rover, her small face pinched with worry and fatigue. Jennifer had reluctantly agreed to let her leave with him after a heated discussion in the hospital corridor, one that Ethan suspected Lily had overheard, despite their attempts at discretion. She's exhausted and overwhelmed, Jennifer had argued. She should come home with me. I want to go with him, Lily had insisted when pulled into the conversation. He needs to understand why this matters. In the end, they'd compromised. Lily would spend the evening with Ethan, giving them time to process the day's revelations, and Jennifer would pick her up in the morning. Dr. Patel had scheduled an appointment with Dr. Martinez, Ethan's former physical therapist, for first thing tomorrow. The unspoken timeline hung between them all. 3 months of rehabilitation before Ethan could safely donate a kidney, with no guarantee that Sarah had that long to wait. As the car pulled into the private underground garage, Ethan found himself studying Lily's profile. The genetic confirmation had merely verified what his instincts had recognized immediately. This solemn, intense child carried his DNA. But what did that actually mean? What responsibility did that create? You're staring. At me, Lily observed without turning from the window. I'm trying to understand you, Ethan replied. Honestly. Now she did look at him, her expression disconcertingly adult. I'm not that complicated. I just want my mom to get better. And you believe I'm the solution. The doctors said you might be. She twisted the strap of her backpack. Are you going to help her? The driver opened Ethan's door before he could respond, efficiently deploying the wheelchair ramp. As they ascended in the private elevator to the penthouse, Ethan noticed Lily bouncing slightly on her toes, her earlier fatigue apparently forgotten. As she took in her surroundings, You really live at the very top, she asked, watching the floor numbers climb. The top 2 floors, actually. The lower level is my private office space. The upper floor is my residence. Like a castle tower, Lily murmured. Mom and I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I can hear the neighbors arguing through the walls sometimes. The elevator doors opened directly into Ethan's minimalist living space, all clean lines, muted colors, and floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the Seattle skyline, now glittering with evening lights. Lily stepped out cautiously, her sneakers still damp from the earlier rain. Wow, she breathed, moving immediately to the windows. You can see everything from here. That was the idea, Ethan replied, watching her press her small hands against the glass. I had it designed specifically. After my accident, everything is accessible by wheelchair. Lily turned to scan the spacious open-concept living area, taking in the custom-height countertops, the specially designed furniture, the state-of-the-art technology that allowed Ethan to control everything from lighting to security with voice commands. It's nice, she said finally, but kind of empty. Don't you get lonely? The directness of the question caught him off guard. I prefer solitude. That's what Mom says about her migraines, that she prefers to be alone during them. But I can tell she doesn't really. She just doesn't want me to see her suffering. Lily wandered toward the kitchen island. I'm hungry. We never had lunch. Ethan realized he hadn't eaten all day either. I can have food delivered. Can't we just make something? Lily was already opening cabinets, peering inside with undisguised curiosity. Don't you have any normal food? Define normal. You know, like cereal or peanut butter or mac and cheese. She closed another empty cabinet with a frown. Your kitchen looks like nobody actually uses it. Nobody does, Ethan admitted. I have meals prepared and delivered daily. Lily looked genuinely puzzled by this concept. But cooking is fun. Mom and I make pancakes every Sunday, and sometimes we try recipes from different countries. Last month we made paella, which is from Spain, and it has all these different seafoods and yellow rice, and... She stopped herself. Sorry, I talk too much when I'm nervous. Something about her self-conscious apology sparked an unexpected protective instinct in Ethan. You don't need to apologize for talking, and we can order whatever you'd like to eat. 20 minutes later, they sat at Ethan's rarely used dining table with an array of food from the upscale deli on the ground floor of the tower, sandwiches, salads, and at Lily's insistence, a slice of chocolate cake that was currently absorbing all her attention. Do you have any other questions for me? Ethan asked, watching her methodically deconstruct the cake, eating the frosting first. Lily considered this while licking chocolate from her fork. Why didn't you try to find out if Mom had me? Didn't you wonder even a little bit? The question was like a punch to the sternum, direct, painful, impossible to deflect. I truly didn't know she was pregnant when we parted ways, Ethan said, carefully. And afterward, I was completely focused on my company. I didn't allow myself to think about what might have been. But you loved her, right? Lily pressed. Mom still has all these pictures of you guys together. You look happy in them. Ethan considered how to answer truthfully without crushing this child's evident need to believe her existence stemmed from something meaningful. I cared for your mother very much. She was different from anyone I'd ever met. But I wasn't ready for the kind of life she wanted. A life with me in it, you mean? A life with any child, Ethan corrected gently. It wasn't personal, Lily. I didn't know you existed. She absorbed this, her fork tracing patterns in the remnants of frosting. Are you going to help Mom now that you know I do exist? It was the question he'd been circling around since the hospital, the one with no simple answer. I want to, he said finally, but there are complications. Dr. Patel explained that I would need intensive physical therapy before surgery would be safe. The 3 months thing, Lily nodded. I heard you guys talking. Mom might not have that long. Her voice wavered slightly on the last words, betraying the fear she'd been valiantly concealing. There are other potential donors being tested, Ethan reminded her, and your mother has been moved up on the transplant list. But you're the best match, Lily insisted. That's how it works with family, and you're already here, not some stranger from a list. Ethan wheeled himself slightly closer to her. Lily, I need you to understand something. My injury is serious. If I attempted surgery without proper preparation, I could end up causing more harm than good, to your mother and to myself. You're scared, she said, the simple observation cutting through his careful explanation. That's okay. I get scared, too. Like when Mum first got sick, I was so scared I couldn't even cry. I just sat in the hospital waiting room counting ceiling tiles over and over. Why counting? Numbers don't change, they're reliable. She shrugged. Anyway, being scared is normal, but Mom says courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing the right thing, even when you are afraid. Ethan studied this child, his child, with growing wonder. 9 years old and already wiser than many adults he knew. Your mother sounds like a remarkable woman. She is, Lily agreed fervently. She works at the Environmental Law Center downtown, helping people fight against companies that pollute neighborhoods. She doesn't make a lot of money, but she says she's rich in purpose. A yawn interrupted her explanation. She'd like your fancy tower, though. She always stops to look at tall buildings, especially at night when they're all lit up. Noticing her fatigue, Ethan guided her to the guest room. which Meredith had hastily prepared with fresh linens and the new clothes she'd had delivered to the hospital. The room, like the rest of the penthouse, was minimally furnished but luxurious. A queen-sized bed with high thread count sheets, a sleek ensuite bathroom with a rainfall shower, floor-to-ceiling windows with automated blackout curtains. "This bathroom is bigger than my bedroom at home," Lily marveled, examining the marble countertops and heated floors. "Do you really need 3 shower heads?" "Probably not," Ethan admitted. The designer was very enthusiastic. After Lily had showered and changed into the new pajamas, space-themed, which she declared acceptable despite being a bit young, Ethan found himself unexpectedly invited to her bedtime routine. "Mom always sits with me for a few minutes before sleep," she explained, climbing into the oversized bed. "We talk about the best thing that happened that day." Ethan positioned his wheelchair beside the bed, feeling strangely out of his depth. "And what was the best thing today?" Lily considered this seriously. "Finding you, I guess, even though it's complicated." She pulled the covers up to her chin. "What was your best thing?" The question caught him unprepared. When was the last time he'd reflected on anything positive in his daily existence? "I'm not sure I had a best thing today." "Everyone has at least one good moment every day," Lily insisted. "Mum says we just have to pay attention to find them." Ethan thought back over the tumultuous hours since Lily had appeared in his office. "Then I suppose seeing your mother again was significant, even in these circumstances." Lily's eyes, heavy with sleep, still managed to look skeptical. "That's not really an answer, but okay." She yawned again. "Will you be here when I wake up?" "Where else would I be?" Ethan asked, genuinely puzzled. "I don't know. Grown-ups are weird sometimes." Her eyelids fluttered closed. "Night, Dad." The word hit him like an electrical current. Dad. So simple, so monumental. He sat frozen beside the bed, watching as Lily's breathing deepened into sleep, her small face relaxing into peace that belied the weight of worry she carried. Dad. A title he'd never sought, never wanted, never imagined would apply to him. Yet here he was, keeping vigil beside this unexpected daughter, who had crashed into his carefully constructed solitude with the force of a meteor, leaving everything altered in her wake. Eventually, Ethan wheeled himself out, leaving the door slightly ajar. In his own bedroom, sleep proved elusive. His mind raced with the day's revelations, with memories of Sarah, with the impossible choice before him. 3 months of intensive rehabilitation before he could safely donate a kidney. 3 months that Sarah might not have. Unless an idea began to form. Dangerous, perhaps reckless, but not impossible. He reached for his phone and called the one person who might help him circumvent the standard protocols. "Dr. Wesley, it's Ethan Blackwood. I apologize for the late hour, but I have a proposition that might interest you. It's regarding your experimental rehabilitation program, the one the medical board deemed too aggressive for general implementation." As he outlined his plan, Ethan felt something unfamiliar stirring within him, a sense of purpose that had nothing to do with market share or technological innovation. For the first time since his accident, he was thinking beyond his own limitations, beyond the confines of his wheelchair, beyond the walls he'd built around what remained of his heart. In the guest room, Lily slept soundly, unaware that her simple faith in him had already begun to work the miracle she'd so desperately sought. Meanwhile, across the city, Natalie Winters sat in her elegantly appointed office, reviewing the day's unexpected developments with growing concern. The security alert from Blackwood Tower had pinged her phone the moment Ethan left the building, an automatic notification system she'd implemented during his depression, ostensibly for his safety. The subsequent report from her source at Harborview had filled in the alarming details: paternity confirmation, compatibility testing, discussions of organ donation. 9 years ago, she'd intercepted Sarah Henderson's messages and letters, protecting Ethan from what she deemed an unnecessary distraction. During a critical growth phase for the company, she'd done it for him, for his vision, for the future they were building together. Now that decision, one of many she'd made without his knowledge, threatened everything she'd worked for. Natalie picked up her phone and dialed a number she rarely used. "We have a situation," she said when the call connected. "I need information on organ donor protocols, specifically how to legally challenge a donor's mental fitness." She paused, listening. "Yes, it's urgent and completely confidential." She ended the call and turned to her computer, fingers flying across the keyboard as she began researching Washington state guardianship laws. If Ethan thought he could suddenly play the hero after 18 months of self-imposed isolation, potentially jeopardizing his health, and by extension the company she'd kept afloat in his absence, he was sadly mistaken. Natalie had spent nearly a decade positioning herself as Ethan's right hand, his most trusted advisor, the keeper of his vision. She would not allow some random child and a long-forgotten romance to destroy everything they'd built. By morning, she would have a strategy in place. Ethan Blackwood might have created Blackwood Innovations, but she had preserved it, grown it, transformed it, and she would do whatever necessary to protect it, even from its founder himself. The early morning light filtered through the automatic blinds as they gradually retracted, programmed to simulate a natural dawn. Ethan was already awake, had been for hours, reviewing the detailed protocol Dr. Wesley had sent over at 3 a.m. The experimental rehabilitation program was aggressive, borderline dangerous, a condensed version of what would normally take months, compressed into weeks through a combination of intensive therapy, experimental stimulation techniques, and pharmaceutical support. "Good morning, Mr. Blackwood," came the automated greeting as Ethan wheeled himself into the kitchen. "Today's temperature is 58 degrees with partly cloudy skies. You have 7 new emails marked urgent, and your first appointment is at 9 a.m. with Dr. Martinez." "Morning," came another voice, decidedly non-automated. Lily sat cross-legged on one of the kitchen bar stools, already dressed in yesterday's clothes, her damp hair suggesting she'd showered. "Your house talks." "Smart home system," Ethan explained, somewhat disconcerted by her presence in his normally solitary morning routine. "It manages environmental controls and scheduling." "Cool, can it make breakfast? I'm starving. And your refrigerator has literally nothing in it except fancy water and something green in a jar that smells weird." Despite the weight of the decisions facing him, Ethan found himself suppressing a smile. "The green thing is probably a wellness shot Meredith orders for me. And no, unfortunately, the system doesn't make breakfast, but we can order something." "Already did," Lily announced proudly, holding up his tablet. "Hope you don't mind, I used the food app thing. The delivery person should be here in like 7 minutes. I got pancakes because it's almost the weekend, and weekends mean pancakes." "It's Tuesday," Ethan pointed out. Lily shrugged. "Pancakes taste good on Tuesdays too." Before Ethan could respond, his phone buzzed with a notification. The security system announced, "Natalie Winters is requesting access to the penthouse." Ethan frowned. Natalie rarely came to his private residence, respecting the strict separation he'd maintained between his personal space and company business since the accident. "Did we have a meeting scheduled?" "No," the system replied. "Ms. Winters indicates it's an urgent matter regarding company stability." Lily looked up from the tablet. "Who's Natalie?" "My COO, Chief Operating Officer," Ethan explained. "She runs the day-to-day operations of Blackwood Innovations." "Is she your girlfriend?" The question came with typical Lily directness. "No," Ethan said firmly. "She's a colleague, a very ambitious one." He hesitated, then made a decision. "System, grant Ms. Winters access, but inform her I have a personal guest and limited time." Moments later, the elevator doors opened to reveal Natalie Winters, impeccably dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, expression carefully composed except for the brief flash of surprise when she spotted Lily. "Ethan," she greeted, quickly recovering. "I apologize for the intrusion, but after yesterday's unexpected absence, the board has concerns that I felt should be addressed immediately." Her gaze shifted to Lily. "I wasn't aware you had company." "This is Lily Henderson," Ethan said, watching. "Decisions. Keeping innovation moving forward, maintaining investor confidence while you withdrew from everything. I did what was necessary, including intercepting Sarah Henderson's attempts to contact me years ago." The question clearly caught her off guard. "What?" Lily mentioned that someone named Natalie told Sarah to stop trying to reach me about prior entanglements. That was you, wasn't it? A flash of something, guilt perhaps, or simple calculation, crossed Natalie's face before her professional expression returned. We were in the middle of the Asian market expansion. You were working 20-hour days, sleeping in the office. The last thing you needed was an ex-girlfriend making emotional demands. She was pregnant with my child, which is exactly the kind of complication you always said you didn't want. Natalie's composure cracked slightly. You told me yourself. No distractions, no entanglements, nothing that would divert focus from the vision. I was protecting you. Ethan, protecting everything we built? You had no right to make that decision. I made hundreds of decisions you never knew about, Natalie shot back. That's what you hired me to do. Eliminate problems before they reached your desk. And it worked, didn't it? Blackwood Innovations became what it is because you had the freedom to focus solely on innovation without messy personal complications. Before Ethan could respond, a knock at the office door interrupted them. Lily poked her head in. Breakfast is here, and Jenny texted that she'll be here in 30 minutes to pick me up. She glanced between the adults, clearly sensing the tension. Should I eat without you? No, I'll join you, Ethan said, grateful for the interruption. Miss Winters was just leaving. Natalie gathered her composure, tucking the file back into her briefcase. This conversation isn't over, Ethan. The board meeting is scheduled for Thursday. I suggest you prepare a statement addressing your future role in the company. She nodded stiffly at Lily. Nice to meet you. As the elevator doors closed behind Natalie, Ethan felt a complex mix of emotions. Betrayal, certainly, but also a strange sense of clarity. For years, he'd trusted Natalie to filter his world, to eliminate distractions and streamline his existence, and in doing so, he'd allowed her to reshape his life in ways he was only beginning to understand. She doesn't like me, Lily observed, matter-of-factly as they settled at the table with the pancake delivery. It's not about you, Ethan assured her. Natalie doesn't like anything that disrupts her plans. Is she going to try to stop you from helping Mom? Ethan considered how much to share with this perceptive child. She might try, but she won't succeed. After breakfast, Jennifer arrived to collect Lily as promised. The overnight stay had created a tentative bond between Ethan and his daughter. Nothing dramatic, but a foundation of cautious trust. Remember Dr. Martinez at 9, Lily reminded him solemnly as she gathered her belongings. You promised. I remember, Ethan assured her, and afterward I'm meeting with specialists about the accelerated program. Jennifer looked alarmed. Accelerated program? The doctors said 3 months minimum before surgery would be safe. I'm exploring alternatives, Ethan replied carefully. Experimental protocols that might compress the timeline. At what risk? Jennifer demanded. Calculated ones, Ethan said firmly. I'll be at the hospital this afternoon to discuss options with Sarah's medical team. You're welcome to join that conversation. After they left, Ethan found himself in the unusual position of preparing to leave his sanctuary twice in as many days. As his driver helped him into the Range Rover for the trip to the rehabilitation center, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Proceed carefully. NW filing for emergency guardianship hearing, citing mental instability and self-harm risk. Documentation being prepared now. M. Meredith. His assistant had apparently chosen a side in this emerging conflict. The warning gave Ethan precious time to prepare his counter-moves. By the time he arrived at the rehabilitation center, he'd already placed 3 calls, one to his personal attorney, one to Dr. Patel requesting comprehensive psychological evaluation, and one to a private investigator. Dr. Martinez was waiting in the facility's modernistic lobby, his expression a mixture of surprise and cautious optimism. I honestly didn't expect you to show up, he admitted, as he led Ethan through the building. It's been months since you stormed out of our last session. Circumstances have changed, Ethan replied simply. The rehabilitation gym was exactly as Ethan remembered, and exactly what he'd been avoiding. Equipment designed to strengthen damaged bodies, to coax movement from reluctant limbs. to measure incremental progress that never seemed sufficient. The smell of sanitizer and sweat, the sounds of effort, and occasionally pain. Before we begin, Dr. Martinez said, guiding Ethan's wheelchair to a private assessment room, "I need to understand your goals. Last time we worked together, you were focused on regaining the ability to stand briefly and transfer yourself more independently. Is that still the objective?" "No," Ethan said firmly. "I need to be physically capable of undergoing major surgery and recovering from it, specifically kidney donation, in the shortest possible time frame." Dr. Martinez's professional demeanor slipped slightly. "That's ambitious. Kidney donation is invasive surgery with a significant recovery period, even for individuals without spinal cord injuries. I'm aware of the challenges. I've already consulted with Dr. Wesley about his accelerated protocol." Now the therapist looked genuinely alarmed. "Wesley's program? Ethan, that approach hasn't been approved for clinical implementation. The intensity level alone—" "I don't have time for conventional approaches," Ethan interrupted. "Sarah Henderson doesn't have time." Recognition dawned on Dr. Martinez's face. "The woman at Harborview. I heard about a high-profile case needing a transplant." He studied Ethan with new understanding. "She's important to you." "She's my daughter's mother." The word still felt strange on Ethan's tongue. "A daughter I didn't know existed until yesterday." For the next hour, Dr. Martinez conducted a thorough evaluation of Ethan's current physical condition. Muscle tone, range of motion, nerve response, cardiovascular fitness. The results were sobering but not surprising. Months of neglect had erased much of the progress Ethan had made during his initial rehabilitation. If, and this is a significant if, we were to attempt Wesley's protocol, Dr. Martinez said as they reviewed the assessment, we would need to begin with fundamentals, core strength, cardiovascular endurance, pain management. The protocol is grueling, Ethan. Multiple sessions daily, experimental nerve stimulation, potentially uncomfortable therapeutic techniques. I understand. Do you? Because last time we worked together, you quit when it became difficult. This would be exponentially harder. Ethan met his gaze steadily. Last time, I was working toward an abstract goal that felt meaningless. This time, there's a concrete purpose with real consequences. Dr. Martinez considered this, then nodded slowly. I'll coordinate with Wesley and your medical team, but I want to be clear. I'll stop the program immediately if I believe it's causing harm that outweighs potential benefits. Fair enough. As Ethan left the rehabilitation center with a comprehensive schedule for the days ahead, his phone rang. With an unfamiliar number. It was Dr. Chen from Harborview. "Mr. Blackwood, I thought you should know. Sarah Henderson regained consciousness about an hour ago. Her condition remains critical, but she's lucid and asking for Lily." "I'll bring her immediately," Ethan promised, instructing his driver to change course to pick up his daughter from Jennifer's home. "Has she been told about the situation?" "Not yet. We thought that conversation should happen with you present, given the circumstances." By the time they reached the hospital, Ethan had explained to Lily that her mother was awake, but still very sick. The child's face had lit with cautious hope, then darkened again with worry. "What if she's mad I went to find you?" Lily asked as they rode the elevator to the 5th floor. "She always said we should respect your choice to not be involved." "Then we'll explain that you made a different choice," Ethan replied. "Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is challenge what seems inevitable." As they approached room 537, Ethan felt a strange nervousness overtake him. He was about to face Sarah as an adult, not the ambitious young entrepreneur who'd prioritized his company over everything, not the broken man who'd retreated from the world after his accident, but as the father of their child, confronting the consequences of choices made and unmade. Jennifer met them at the door, her expression guarded but less hostile than before. "She's weak, but stable," she said quietly. "The doctors have explained her condition, but not other developments." Her gaze flickered to Ethan meaningfully. Lily rushed past them into the room, approaches her mother's bedside with a mixture of eagerness and caution. "Mom, you're awake." Sarah Henderson looked even more frail in consciousness than she had. While unconscious, her skin sallow, eyes sunken, body diminished beneath the hospital blankets. But her smile for her daughter was radiant, transforming her face. "There's my girl," she whispered, voice raspy from disuse. "Jenny said you've been quite the adventurer." Lily climbed carefully onto the edge of the bed, taking her mother's. "Hannah, I had to do something. No one else was fixing things." Sarah's gaze drifted past Lily to the doorway where Ethan waited, and her smile faded into shock. "Ethan?" she whispered. "Is that really you?" And in that moment of recognition, as their eyes met across the sterile hospital room, the years between them seemed to compress and expand simultaneously. A decade of separate lives, of paths untaken, of a child raised and a connection severed, all converging in this fragile present, where nothing was certain except the undeniable truth that their lives remained inexorably entwined. "Hello, Sarah," Ethan said softly, wheeling himself into the room. "But it seems we have a lot to talk about." The courtroom was unnervingly quiet as Ethan wheeled himself to the designated space beside his attorney. 2 weeks had passed since his reunion with Sarah, 2 weeks of intensive physical therapy, legal maneuvering, and corporate warfare that had culminated in today's emergency competency hearing. Natalie had moved faster than anticipated, filing paperwork claiming that Ethan's sudden decision to undergo risky surgery represented a mental break requiring immediate intervention. The documentation painted a devastating picture. A once brilliant innovator, reduced to impulsive, self-destructive behavior following a traumatic injury. She'd included psychiatric evaluations from the dark months after his accident, emails, and texts showing his withdrawal from company operations, and testimony from board members concerned about his emotional stability. "All rise," the bailiff announced as Judge Eleanor Ramirez entered the courtroom. Ethan remained seated, of course, but straightened his posture as much as possible. He'd dressed meticulously in a tailored suit, determined to project capability and rationality. "Please, be seated," Judge Ramirez said, adjusting her glasses as she reviewed the file before her. "This is case number 72834, in the matter of Ethan Blackwood. We're here on a petition for emergency guardianship filed by Natalie Winters, who is..." She glanced up, surveying the courtroom. "Present and represented by counsel. And Mr. Blackwood is also present with representation." Ethan's attorney, Catherine Montgomery, rose. "Yes, Your Honor, and we intend to vigorously contest this petition as baseless and potentially motivated by conflicts of interest." "We'll get to arguments momentarily," the judge replied. "First, I'd like clarity on the relationship between Ms. Winters and Mr. Blackwood." Natalie's attorney, a sharp-featured man named Gregory Palmer, stood. "Ms. Winters is the chief operating officer of Blackwood Innovations, the company Mr. Blackwood founded. She has worked alongside him for 9 years and has essentially run the company during his incapacitation following a spinal cord injury 18 months ago." "And does Ms. Winters stand to gain financially from being appointed guardian?" "Your Honor, Ms. Winters is motivated solely by concern for Mr. Blackwood's well-being and the stability of the company that employs thousands of people." Judge Ramirez's expression suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. "Mr. Blackwood, do you understand these proceedings and why we're here today?" Ethan leaned toward the microphone. "I do, Your Honor. Ms. Winters is attempting to prevent me from making medical decisions she disagrees with by having me declared incompetent." "And what medical decisions are these?" "I've been evaluated as a compatible kidney donor for Sarah Henderson, the mother of my recently discovered biological daughter. Ms. Henderson's condition is critical, and I've enrolled in an accelerated rehabilitation program to prepare my body for the donation surgery." The judge made a note. "And Ms. Winters believes this decision demonstrates impaired judgment." "She does," Palmer interjected. "Mr. Blackwood has abandoned his rehabilitation efforts for months, showing complete disregard for his own health. Now suddenly he's pursuing an experimental protocol that his own doctors have documented as potentially dangerous, all for a woman he hasn't seen in a decade. This represents exactly the kind of impulsive, self-destructive behavior that has characterized his decline since the accident. Catherine Montgomery stood again. Your Honor, my client's medical decisions are supported by a team of specialists who have determined that, while challenging, the accelerated program and subsequent donation are medically viable. We have affidavits from Dr. Alan Patel, Mr. Blackwood's primary physician, and Dr. Carlos Martinez, his rehabilitation specialist, confirming his mental competence and understanding of the risks involved. For the next hour, the attorneys presented competing narratives of Ethan's mental state. Palmer portrayed a man in the grip of depression, making reckless choices that threatened his health and his company's stability. Montgomery countered with evidence of Ethan's recent re-engagement, his clear understanding of the medical risks, and his right to make decisions about his own body. Throughout, Ethan watched Natalie, seated at the plaintiff's table in another impeccable suit, her expression a careful mask of professional concern. She met his gaze occasionally, her eyes conveying messages he couldn't quite decipher. Regret, perhaps, or determination, or some complex mixture of emotions that had developed during their long professional relationship. I'd like to hear from Mr. Blackwood directly, Judge Ramirez announced finally. Sir, please help me understand why this donation is so important to you that you're willing to pursue an experimental rehabilitation protocol your doctors initially deemed inadvisable. Ethan wheeled himself to the witness stand, took the oath, and faced the courtroom. He had prepared extensively for this moment, rehearsing logical arguments about parental responsibility and medical autonomy. But as he began to speak, he found himself veering from his script. For most of my adult life, I've defined success in terms of what I could build, create, or acquire, he said. Blackwood Innovations became an extension of my identity. My true legacy, I thought. When the accident took away my mobility, I felt I'd lost everything worth living for. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I spent 18 months in a penthouse prison of my own making, convinced that a life with limitations wasn't worth the effort. Then my daughter, a child I didn't know existed, appeared in my office and asked me to save her mother's life. Ethan's voice caught slightly. Not with my money or my influence, but with a piece of myself, with an act that requires genuine sacrifice. The courtroom remained silent as he continued. For the first time since my accident, I'm pursuing something that has nothing to do with my own comfort or achievements, something that matters beyond myself. Is it risky? Yes. Is it worthwhile? Absolutely. Judge Ramirez studied him thoughtfully. And what if you don't succeed? What if the rehabilitation program proves too demanding, or complications arise during surgery? Then I will have tried, Ethan said simply. I would rather face those risks than explain to my daughter someday that I had the capacity to help, but chose my own comfort instead. Ms. Winters, the judge said, turning her attention to Natalie, would you like to address the court? Natalie rose gracefully, her composure perfect as always. Your Honor, I've dedicated nearly a decade of my life to Blackwood Innovations and to supporting Ethan's vision. Everything I've done, including filing this petition, has been to protect what we've built together. She glanced at Ethan before continuing. I believe Ethan's judgment has been compromised, not by mental illness, but by emotional manipulation from a child who appeared out of nowhere with an extraordinary claim on his conscience. His history of depression following the accident makes him particularly vulnerable to such influence. That's not true, came a small voice from the back of the courtroom. Heads turned to see Lily standing in the aisle, Jennifer's restraining hand on her shoulder. I didn't manipulate anyone, I just told the truth. Young lady, Judge Ramirez said firmly but not unkindly, this is a formal proceeding. You can't speak out of turn. But she's lying about me, Lily protested, and about my dad. The word dad echoed in the quiet courtroom. Ethan felt something shift in his chest, a tightening that wasn't entirely unpleasant. Your Honor, Catherine Montgomery interjected, given that the child's character has been called into question, perhaps the court would benefit from hearing briefly from Lily Henderson. She is, after all, central to the situation at hand. Judge Ramirez considered this, then nodded, very briefly, and only because her motives have been impugned. Come forward, young lady. Lily approached the front of the courtroom with surprising poise, her small shoulders squared beneath the weight of adult scrutiny. She'd dressed for the occasion in what was clearly her best outfit, a navy blue dress with a Peter Pan collar, hair neatly braided. "Please state your name for the record," the judge instructed. "Lily Sarah Henderson, I'm 9 years old. Lily, Ms. Winters has suggested that you're manipulating Mr. Blackwood by making him feel guilty about not being part of your life. What do you say to that?" Lily's gaze darted to Natalie, then back to the judge. "I didn't even know he didn't know about me until recently. Mom always said he had important work to do and couldn't be disturbed. She never said anything bad about him." "And why did you seek him out now?" "Because Mom is really sick, and the doctors said she needs a kidney from someone who matches her blood type, and family members usually match better than strangers." Lily's composure wavered slightly. "I had this dream that he would help her, and then they would fall in love again and we'd be a real family. But even if that doesn't happen, I just want my mum to get better." "Did you expect Mr. Blackwood to donate his kidney when you went looking for him?" Lily shook her head. "I just wanted him to get tested. I didn't know about his accident, or that it would be harder for him than for other people." She looked at Ethan, her expression earnest. "I never asked him to do the dangerous program. I told him we could wait, but he said he wanted to try." "Judge." Ramirez nodded thoughtfully. "Thank you, Lily. You may step down." The remainder of the hearing proceeded with technical testimony, doctors explaining the medical protocols, financial experts assessing the impact on Blackwood innovations, psychologists offering competing views on Ethan's mental state. Throughout, Ethan remained focused, engaged, demonstrating the clarity and intelligence that had built his tech empire. Finally, Judge Ramirez called a brief recess to review the evidence before delivering her ruling. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Ethan found himself face to face with Natalie. "This isn't personal," she said quietly. "I'm trying to protect you from yourself." "It became personal when you lied about my daughter manipulating me," Ethan replied. "And when you intercepted Sarah's attempts to contact me years ago." Natalie's perfect composure slipped slightly. "You wouldn't be who you are. Blackwood Innovations wouldn't exist as it does if you'd been distracted by fatherhood 9 years ago. I made a calculation." "It wasn't your calculation to make." "Everything I've done has been for the good of the company," she insisted. "For your vision." "No," Ethan said with sudden clarity. "It was for your vision of what the company should be, what I should be." Before Natalie could respond, the bailiff announced that court was resuming. They filed back in, tension vibrating between them like a plucked wire. Judge Ramirez didn't keep them waiting. "Having reviewed the evidence and testimony presented today, I find the petition for emergency guardianship to be unsupported by the facts. Mr. Blackwood has demonstrated clear understanding of his medical choices and their potential consequences. While his decisions may be considered risky by some, risk-taking itself is not evidence of mental incompetence." Relief washed through Ethan as the judge continued. "Furthermore, I find Ms. Winters' position as COO of Blackwood Innovations creates a significant conflict of interest that calls into question her suitability as a potential guardian." "The petition is denied." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Ethan caught Lily's eye across the room, offering a small nod of reassurance. "There is, however, another matter that concerns this court," Judge Ramirez added, silencing the room again. "Evidence presented today suggests that Ms. Winters may have deliberately intercepted communications intended for Mr. Blackwood regarding his paternity of Lily Henderson. While not directly relevant to today's proceedings, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for review of potential criminal violations." Natalie's face drained of color. Her attorney leaned in, whispering urgently in her ear. As the courtroom began to empty, Ethan wheeled himself over to where Lily stood with Jennifer. "You did well in there," he told his daughter. "That was a lot for someone your age to handle." "Mom would say I was brave," Lily replied, a hint of pride breaking through her worry. "Can we go see her now? The doctor said she had a better day yesterday." "Absolutely. And I have good news. Dr. Martinez cleared me for the final phase of the preparation protocol. If all goes well, the donation surgery could happen within 2 weeks. Jennifer's expression reflected cautious hope. The accelerated program is working? Better than expected, Ethan confirmed. I won't be running marathons anytime soon, but my overall condition has improved significantly. Dr. Patel is optimistic about the surgery. As they headed for the hospital, Ethan's phone buzzed with notifications, text messages from board members, emails from investors, all reacting to the courtroom drama that had undoubtedly already leaked to the business press. The most urgent alert, however, was from Meredith. Emergency at the office, server room fire, possible sabotage, security containing situation, but requesting your authorization for full system lockdown. Ethan stared at the message in disbelief. Our server room fire could potentially destroy critical company data, intellectual property worth billions, and possible sabotage suggested this wasn't an accident. We need to make a detour, he told the driver, explaining the situation to Jennifer and Lily. I'm sorry, but this could be serious. Is it Ms. Winters? Lily asked perceptively. Is she doing something bad because she lost in court? I don't know, Ethan replied honestly, but I need to find out. When they arrived at Blackwood Tower, smoke was visible from several floors below the penthouse level. Fire trucks surrounded the building, and employees milled about on the sidewalk as emergency responders coordinated their efforts. George, the head of security, rushed to meet Ethan's car. Sir, we've contained the fire to the server room and adjacent offices, but there's significant damage. And the security footage. He hesitated, glancing at Lily. It's okay, Ethan assured him. What about the footage? It shows Ms. Winters entering the server room approximately 20 minutes after the court adjourned. She exited 3 minutes later, and smoke was detected by sensors shortly after that. Ethan absorbed this information with a strange calm. Is she still in the building? No, sir, she left immediately after. We've alerted authorities, and her access has been revoked from all systems. As they watched the firefighters working, Lily slipped her small hand into Ethan's. I'm sorry your building is hurt, she said quietly, but at least people are okay, right? Ethan squeezed her hand gently. Yes, that's what matters most. Buildings can be repaired. And the court said you can still help Mom, Lily added. That's the most important thing. Looking at his daughter's hopeful face, Ethan realized she was right. A decade ago, this kind of corporate sabotage would have consumed him completely. The betrayal, the potential data loss, the stock price implications. Now somehow, it seemed almost secondary to the human drama unfolding in their lives. You're right, he told Lily. Let's leave the firefighters to their work. Your mother is waiting. As they turned away from the smoldering tower that had once represented his life's achievement, Ethan felt strangely unburdened. Servers could be replaced. Data could be restored from backups. What couldn't be recovered was time. Time with his daughter, time to help Sarah, time to become the kind of person who valued connection over accomplishment. And as they drove toward the hospital where Sarah waited, Ethan realized that the fire, far from destroying something essential, had merely burned away what no longer mattered. 3 months later, Seattle's typically gray autumn had given way to an unusually brilliant display of fall colors. From the expansive terrace of the rehabilitation center, the view of maple trees surrounding the facility created a canvas of crimson and gold against the backdrop of distant mountains. Ethan gripped the parallel bars, focusing intently on each movement as Dr. Martinez observed from a few feet away. The pain was still there, a constant companion since the surgery, but different now, purposeful rather than defeating. With careful precision, he shifted his weight forward, his leg muscles trembling with effort. That's it, Dr. Martinez encouraged. 3 more steps. Remember to engage your core. Sweat beaded on Ethan's forehead as he pushed through, completing the short but significant journey from one end of the bars to the other. His legs hadn't borne his full weight. The harness system above provided crucial support, but they were participating in the movement in ways that had seemed impossible 4 months ago. Excellent progress, Dr. Martinez said, making notes on his tablet. Your nerve response continues to improve. and the muscle tone in your lower extremities is markedly better than pre-surgery." Ethan lowered himself back into the wheelchair, breathing heavily from the exertion. "It's still not walking." "No, but it's considerably more function than you had before. And more importantly, your core strength and overall condition have improved dramatically." Dr. Martinez set aside his tablet. "Are you ready to share the news with Sarah and Lily today?" The question brought both anticipation and anxiety. Since the successful transplant surgery, Ethan had been deliberately cautious about his unexpected physical improvements, not wanting to create false hope for his daughter. "I'm still processing it myself," he admitted. "When you and Dr. Wesley started the accelerated protocol, the goal was simply to get me strong enough for the donation surgery. This additional recovery, it wasn't something I allowed myself to expect." Dr. Martinez smiled. "Sometimes the body surprises us. The combination of intensive therapy, the experimental stimulation techniques, and, I suspect, your newfound motivation created optimal conditions for neural recovery. Your injury was always incomplete. We just needed to find the right approach to maximize healing. And a reason to try that was meaningful enough," Ethan added quietly. The memory of the transplant surgery remained vivid, the antiseptic smell of the operating room, the strange calm he'd felt as anesthesia began to take effect, the certainty that regardless of the outcome, he was finally doing something that mattered beyond himself. The recovery had been brutal, far worse than Dr. Patel had prepared him for. Days of pain, nausea, and frustration, moments of doubt when he questioned the decision. But then had come the reports of Sarah's improving condition, her body accepting his kidney, her blood work showing signs of recovery, and somehow that knowledge had made his own suffering bearable. What no one had anticipated, not Ethan, not his medical team, was how the intensive pre-surgical rehabilitation would trigger unexpected improvements in his spinal cord function. The experimental nerve stimulation techniques, combined with the pharmaceutical protocol and sheer determination, had awakened neural pathways that had been dormant since the accident. "I should caution you again," Dr. Martinez said, interrupting Ethan's thoughts, "that we don't know how far this recovery will progress. You may gain more function plateau where you are now, or even experience setbacks." "I understand," Ethan replied, "but even this much, it's more than I ever thought possible. Your visitor log shows Sarah and Lily are scheduled to arrive at 2 o'clock, Dr. Martinez noted, checking his watch. "That gives you time to rest before they get here." An hour later, showered and changed into fresh clothes, Ethan waited in the rehabilitation center's garden. The facility, one of the most advanced in the country, had been his home for the past 12 weeks. Initially selected for its aggressive approach to pre-transplant conditioning, it had become the center of his unexpected journey toward partial recovery. "Dad!" Lily's voice rang out across the garden as she spotted him. She ran ahead of Sarah, who followed at a more measured pace, her own recovery still ongoing. Ethan opened his arms, accepting his daughter's enthusiastic embrace with a warmth that no longer felt awkward or forced. "How was the science competition?" he asked, remembering her excitement about the middle school event she'd been invited to participate in, despite being younger than the other contestants. "I got second place," Lily announced proudly. "My project on black hole event horizons was really good, but Jason Chen had actual data from some observatory his uncle works at, so the judges liked that better. But Ms. Peterson said mine was more creative." "That's outstanding," Ethan said, genuinely impressed. "We should celebrate." Sarah reached them, her smile gentle as she observed their interaction. The months of recovery had restored color to her cheeks and life to her eyes, though she remained thinner than in Ethan's memories. "She's been talking about nothing else all weekend," she said. The judges were apparently quite impressed by her theoretical model. The easy domesticity of these visits still surprised Ethan. The shared pride in Lily's accomplishments, the comfortable rhythm they'd established during Sarah's recovery and his rehabilitation. 3 times a week, Sarah and Lily would come to the center, bringing stories of school projects and workplace developments, fragments of the outside world that kept Ethan connected beyond the intensive focus of his therapy. "How are you feeling?" he asked Sarah as she settled onto the bench beside his wheelchair. "Better every day," she replied. "Dr. Chen says my kidney function is now completely normal, all thanks to you." Her expression turned serious, which makes it even more impressive that you've somehow maintained your rehabilitation schedule while recovering from major surgery yourself. Ethan exchanged glances with Lily, who was practically vibrating with excitement. They had planned this moment carefully. "Actually," he said, "there's something I want to show you both." He positioned his wheelchair at the edge of the garden path, engaging the brakes securely. Then, with careful movements, he placed his hands on the armrests and began to push himself upward. Sarah's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "Ethan?" Slowly, with visible effort but undeniable control, Ethan rose to a standing position. He remained supported by the chair, his hands still bearing much of his weight, but his legs, his supposedly useless legs, were participating in holding him upright. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered, her hand covering her mouth. "Wait, there's more," Lily said, unable to contain herself. She positioned herself a few feet away on the path. "Show her, Dad." With intense concentration, Ethan released one hand from the wheelchair, balancing carefully. Then, using a forearm crutch that had been concealed beside the chair, he took a single, deliberate step forward. Then, another. 3 agonizingly slow steps brought him halfway to where Lily stood, beaming. "The doctors say it's a partial recovery," he explained, his voice strained with effort. "I'll probably always need support to walk, and distances will be limited. But it's significantly more function than anyone expected." Sarah had risen from the bench, tears streaming unchecked down her face. "How is this possible? They told you the damage was permanent." "It turns out," Ethan said, carefully lowering himself back into the wheelchair with Lily's assistance, "that sometimes the body just needs the right motivation to heal. The intensive preparation for the transplant surgery created optimal conditions for neural recovery." "He's been practicing in secret for weeks," Lily confided, perching on the arm of his wheelchair. "He wanted to surprise you when he could actually take more than one step." Sarah approached slowly, still processing what she'd witnessed. "All this time, while you were recovering from giving me your kidney, you were also relearning to walk." "Ethan, that's necessary," he finished simply. "For the first time since the accident, I had something worth fighting for." The 3 of them remained in the garden for hours, talking about the future in ways that would have seemed impossible months earlier. Ethan shared his plans for the renovation of his penthouse to accommodate his evolving mobility needs. Sarah described her gradual return to work at the Environmental Law Center, now with a special focus on cases involving medical access and disability rights. Lily enthusiastically outlined her ideas for the new foundation Ethan was establishing, one focused on connecting organ donors with recipients and supporting families through the medical and financial challenges of transplantation. As evening approached, Sarah received a call from Jennifer about some logistical matter at home. While she stepped away to take it, Lily turned to Ethan with her characteristic directness. "Are you going to ask Mom to marry you?" she inquired, watching his reaction carefully. "Because I found a ring catalogue in your desk drawer last week. When I was looking for paper clips." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You know, most people consider looking through desk drawers an invasion of privacy." "You didn't answer the question," Lily pointed out. "No, I didn't." Ethan adjusted his position slightly, wincing at the twinge of pain in his lower back. "What would you think if I did ask her?" Lily considered this with the same serious analysis she applied to her scientific theories. "I think it would be logical. You obviously still like each other, and it would make me happy to have both my parents in the same house." She paused. "But it would have to be Mom's decision. She's very independent." "That she is," Ethan agreed, remembering how fiercely Sarah had insisted on maintaining her own apartment during her recovery, accepting his financial assistance for medical bills, but drawing clear boundaries around her personal independence. "She keeps the picture of you two at the beach by her bed again," Lily offered helpfully. "And she smiles this special way when you call. It's different from her regular smile." Ethan suppressed his own smile at his daughter's unsubtle matchmaking. "I'll take that under advisement." Sarah returned, slipping her phone into her pocket. Jenny says the delivery arrived. That special desk chair you ordered for Lily's homework station, the ergonomic one with the space design. Awesome, Lily exclaimed. Can we go home and set it up now? It's getting late, Sarah reminded her, and your dad needs to rest. We can come back tomorrow after school. Ethan watched the easy way Sarah referred to him as Lily's dad, the natural inclusion in their lives that had evolved over these months of parallel recovery. What had begun as a crisis, a desperate child seeking help for her dying mother, had transformed into something none of them had anticipated, a family, unconventional, but undeniably real. Actually, he said, making a spontaneous decision, I've been cleared for a day pass tomorrow. What if I came to help set up the chair? We could have dinner afterward. The joy on Lily's face made his heart constrict. Really? You're coming to our house? If that's all right with your mother, Ethan added, looking to Sarah. She held his gaze for a long moment, something unspoken passing between them. I think we'd both like that very much. Later, after they had gone, Ethan wheeled himself through the quiet rehabilitation center to his private room. The building that had initially felt like another prison had become a place of transformation, not just physically, but in every aspect of his life. On his bedside table sat a framed photograph, Lily, standing between him and Sarah, on the day he'd been released from the hospital after the transplant surgery. All three of them looked exhausted, but undeniably connected, joined by something more powerful than genetics or circumstance. Beside it was a small model of a building, Lily's handmade representation of what she called the Henderson Blackwood Foundation. The child had constructed it from cardboard and colored paper during one of her visits, explaining earnestly that it needed to be wheelchair accessible, but also have lots of stairs for people who are relearning to walk. Ethan transferred himself from the wheelchair to the bed, executing the movement with a precision that would have seemed impossible months earlier. As he settled against the pillows, his phone buzzed with a message from Meredith. Board unanimously approved the restructuring proposal. New leadership team ready to assume operations while you focus on the foundation launch. Blackwood Innovations stock up 12% on news of your phased return. The corporate drama that had once consumed his every waking thought now occupied a different place in his priorities. After the fire, which had indeed been Natalie's desperate attempt to destroy evidence of her interference, Ethan had initiated a complete reorganization of the company. Rather than returning as the solitary visionary CEO, he was establishing a more collaborative leadership structure, one that would allow him to contribute his innovative thinking while maintaining balance in his newly reconstructed life. Natalie was facing criminal charges for the arson and corporate espionage, but Ethan had found himself strangely detached from her fate. The betrayal still stung, but it seemed to belong to a different lifetime, the era before Lily, before Sarah's illness, before he'd discovered that his broken body was capable of healing in ways no one had predicted. His phone buzzed again, this time a text from Sarah. Lily insists I tell you she's already planning where to put her science fair ribbon in your office. Hope that's okay. Thank you for today, it meant more than I can say. Ethan smiled as he typed his reply. Tell her I'll clear a whole wall for future ribbons. And Sarah, seeing you healthy again is all the thanks I need. He set the phone aside and reached for the file Dr. Martinez had given him earlier, the updated recovery protocol for the next 3 months. The projected outcomes were cautiously optimistic. Increased walking distance with assistive devices, improved core strength, potentially even driving adaptations that would allow more independence. Not a complete recovery. Nothing would fully restore what the accident had taken. But something equally valuable had been gained in the process. Not just the partial return of physical function, but the discovery that his capacity for connection, for sacrifice, for love, had remained intact beneath the shell of isolation he'd constructed. Tomorrow, he would leave the rehabilitation center for the first time since the surgery. He would enter the modest apartment where Sarah and Lily had built their life together. He would help his daughter assemble her new desk chair, perhaps share a meal around a family table, possibly even find a moment to speak privately with Sarah. about possibilities neither of them had dared to consider months earlier. And in that ordinary domestic scene, so far removed from the cutting-edge innovations and corporate achievements that had once defined his worth, Ethan Blackwood would continue the most important recovery of all, the journey back to wholeness, to purpose, to the profound recognition that sometimes our greatest strength emerges only after we've been broken. 5 years later, the Henderson Blackwood Center for Rehabilitation and Family Reunification opened its doors in downtown Seattle, Jesus' gleaming structure of glass and sustainable materials designed to accommodate people at all stages of physical recovery. The building incorporated elements from Lily's cardboard model, now 12 years old, and already demonstrating the same innovative thinking that had made her father a technology pioneer. On the day of the grand opening, Ethan stood at the podium, supported by a single cane with Sarah and Lily beside him. As cameras flashed and the ribbon waited to be cut, he looked out at the gathered crowd of donors, medical professionals and families awaiting treatment. When my daughter appeared in my office 5 years ago, telling me I could walk again if I found the courage to help her mother, I didn't understand what she really meant, Ethan said, his voice strong despite the emotion behind his words. She wasn't talking about my legs. She was talking about my heart, about my capacity to love, to believe, to fight for something beyond myself. He reached for Sarah's hand, the simple gold band on her finger catching the sunlight. True healing doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it comes wrapped in challenges we never wanted to face, but I've learned that miracles don't fall from the sky. They come from love, faith, and the determination of those who refuse to give up. As the ribbon was cut and the doors opened to welcome the first families, Ethan knew with absolute certainty that his most significant legacy would never be the technology he'd pioneered or the company he'd built, but the lives that would be transformed within these walls, lives touched by the same unexpected miracle that had brought his family together against all odds. It wasn't a perfect ending. His mobility remained limited, requiring daily management and occasional setbacks. The company continued without his full-time leadership, and their family, with its unconventional beginning and complex history, navigated challenges like any other. But as he watched Lily, now a confident teenager, leading tours through the facility her determination had inspired, Ethan recognized that perfect endings weren't the point. What mattered were the new beginnings that emerged from life's unexpected detours, the courage to reach beyond comfortable isolation towards something messy, challenging, and infinitely more meaningful than success. And in that recognition, in the family he'd never planned to have, and the purpose he'd never expected to find,